everyone, and welcome to today's quick catch-up session by Guestcentric. I'm very excited to have with us today Filipa Campos, who is our Director of Sales for the European region. And I'm also really excited about the topic that we're going to be discussing today, about the evolution of technology, how independent hotels fit into this, and how they can, I guess, strengthen their brand in the current climate. But first of all, Filipa, it's really great to have you. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for having me and to invite me for this nice interview today.
Great. And for some people that might not know, do you mind just giving like a quick background on who you are, what it is that you do, and your expertise and I guess journey through the industry?
Sure. Yes. So so I've been in this industry for around 16 years, more or less. Actually, my background has nothing to do with hospitality. Originally, I've studied economics and finance, where I worked a couple of years as a researcher at university. But then I actually started my own business as a startup company, where I was with a DMC company in Portugal. For a few years, I was actually running that business. And then around 2012, I've decided to move myself to London, and I joined SiteMinder. Okay, so at the time, SiteMinder has an Australian company. They were opening their offices in Europe, so I've joined their very tiny team at the time. I was working in SiteMinder for nearly 9 years. Okay. Where I was basically running the enterprise department. Around nearly 4 years ago, I actually joined Guestcentric. And since then I've been commercial director of Guestcentric for the EMEA region.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like you've had a very varied and action-packed journey through the industry and have seen quite a lot of the evolution, I guess, over the years and how things have changed and evolved across travel and hospitality. So I think this is a good place to start in our conversation, sort of going over like how, in your opinion, the industry has evolved along with technology as well, because a lot of this now, well, this is a very digitalized industry. So do you mind just giving a bit of a background on how the industry and technology has evolved over the years, and why, where hotels fit into this, and why it's important now more than ever for hotels to be on top of their brand and on top of their business and controlling that?
Yes, absolutely. So it's actually a great start of this conversation, because I think most of the people nowadays, so I think we have two different type of people actually in this industry. The young generation that doesn't really know what happened like 30 years ago, okay, or more. And we still have loads of people that actually start working in this industry back in the 80s. And nowadays they still not working pretty much with new technology. So there is a mix of people in this industry, which is really interesting. So it's actually I'm really passionate about this industry, and actually I always try to understand, okay, where did this come from and where we are nowadays. And interesting enough is that if you look at the 80s, basically hospitality was all about GDS. So GDS is a global distribution system, which was originally probably the first system allowing hotels to get reservations. At the time, this system actually came from the airline companies, so wasn't very much sophisticated, not very modern, and hotels were pretty much relying on this sort of system in order to have reservations, basically. Over the years, the things start evolving a little bit, obviously, and around the 90s, there was lots of tour operations in place. So what it means is basically that hoteliers were giving their inventory away to tour operators through very long contracts. Pricing was pretty much static, okay? And so basically, hoteliers weren't really independent at the beginning of the year or the end of the year, they were negotiating their rates, static rates for the full year, and giving their inventory through allotments to tour operators. The things actually start evolving a lot through technology because XML connections start being in place. The OTAs, typically Booking.com, Expedia, or many others that you all know, like HRS, for example, Agoda, etc., start having some great positions in the market. And that means that those OTAs were not selling B2B anymore. They were actually selling rooms and availabilities to the final guest, the final consumer, through their technology, through their platforms. And at the same time, the way the hotels found to manage these was through channel managers. So if you look at the time, the first channel managers coming up to the market were like Rate Tiger, Travel Click, then Rate Gain as well. So they were basically able to manage centralized inventory from their platforms, allowing the hotels to have like pool inventory, so centralized inventory being sent to all the OTAs at the time. At the same time, the technology evolved. So later on, the Edge SiteMinder came up to the market, allowing the hotels even better to manage their online distribution because they start being able to manage dynamic pricing at the same time across different companies, different OTAs. So I think if we go back to 2010, 2015, online presence for independent hotels, start being something quite positive and solid in the market because technology starts being something that every single hotel could have access, and actually they start getting their independency in terms of, nowadays we can actually manage our inventory and say who's actually going to be selling us, and that was great. But even better than that was what happened over the last decade. So which was basically this miracle about direct reservations, right? So at the time, online presence was all about B2C companies, and there was nothing in regards direct revenue. But over the last decade, direct revenue was something that got a very stable situation in the market. And nowadays, I can say that hotels can actually have a quite solid and diverse online distribution, including a great percentage of direct reservations. So looking to this, I would say hoteliers were extremely dependent a couple of decades ago. And nowadays, they actually got their inventory back, and they're able to manage their independency and all their inventory and their pricing across loads of online distribution platforms, as well as their own websites and booking engine, right? Yeah, so I think that's the kind of the evolution that happened over the last decades. And I think now the big question is like, what is actually going to happen now, right? So what is the next step for the hoteliers? I'm not sure if I answered your question, Melissa.
It was a good walk through like the industry to give like the background context. But I think it would be interesting to kind of go over, I guess, how technology has also evolved specifically along with this for the hotels and independent hotel brands specifically, how it's evolved up until now, and then
yeah, so it's it's been evolving a lot, and as you can look to the screen here is I actually brought two different hotel tech stacks. So the first one that you are actually seeing it's an hotel tech stack back in 2010. So there was a simple PMS, a simple channel manager that I was mentioning allows the hotels to manage their centralized inventory and rates across multiple OTAs, wholesalers, etc. And then there was the booking engine and the website as well. Okay. And for some hotels, the GDS still there, like in order to get reservations for corporate business. Still, at the time, this was already a little bit complex for hoteliers, but that was it. What happens is that 14 years later, that's exactly where we are. So this technology has evolved so much. There's so many companies investing in hospitality, loads of funds, loads of money going around, that there's a real interest, okay, around hospitality. And this is actually, this is making these all tech stack quite complex for hoteliers. So on a daily basis, actually, it's really interesting that either myself, my team, we're always talking with the hoteliers, some more sophisticated than others, but people are really lost. They just don't know. There's so many different companies. There's so many different ideas that we really don't know where to go. What should we actually sign up? What do we actually need? Okay. And that's big. And this is the reason, is that there's so many different things. And on the top of this, there is artificial intelligence as well. So I think answering your question, Melissa, I think as an hotelier nowadays, you need to be able to understand, always try to understand a little bit what's going on in a market, what are the possibilities, and really establish your priorities before you start signing up with technology. Okay, establish your priorities in terms of what's your target, what's the size of your property, the location, what's your brand, what's your content, and start in a small way. Start with the basic technology and make sure that you can build up everything under the same platform. Okay, so you really need to pick up a platform that allows you to build up everything on the top of your initial choice, I think. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. And definitely, I think something that is quite challenging is as an independent brand, I imagine, with like less resources, less, staff and things like that, in comparison to the bigger hotel chains and the big hospitality companies. It might seem a bit overwhelming, like, okay, we need to adapt to all these technology trends. We need to adapt to these different demands and these different consumers, and our business is growing and we're getting, demand coming in from all these different places. And it's so difficult. Well, not so difficult, but it might seem challenging to manage all of that. And then with all that noise of like, oh, this technology or this solution or that solution might be able to help you. There might be this like tendency maybe to kind of say, okay, it's easier to just partner with an agency or a digital agency or something and just let them manage all of this online stuff so that we can actually focus on the guests that are coming into our property and give them that service directly and do what we do best, which is hospitality.
Yes.
But what would be, in your opinion, like some of the pitfalls of kind of relinquishing that control as an independent hotel brand?
Yes. So I think let's take a look into this. So big brands, right? They have huge headquarters, right? And they develop their own technology and they manage everything in-house. So they have a very solid strategy and they can adjust whatever they would like to go easily because they just develop everything internally, right? So on the other side, you have independent hotels that they decide to do stuff just buying technology and then work with this technology, or every so often they also decide to, okay, let's hire like a company that will do everything for me, right? And that happens a lot, to be honest with you. So in my opinion, I think it's really interesting to look at these markets and the opportunities of the market. So let's take a look into some interesting data, actually. So as exactly the opposite of many other industries, I had a look on the numbers in 2024, and if you look into those are the ADRs in generally for hotels since January until check-in dates, okay, until now, like June. So typically, any other industry, like let's say ticket concerts, airline companies, or any other things, typically pricing starts really low and starts increasing when it's approaching to the date of the event, right? In the hospitality, we actually see exactly the things in the other way. So prices starts really high, okay, and actually decrease as the check-in approaches. And this is something that is really tricky. So why is pricing so high when you actually start selling your rooms? So it's not really allowing to selling your rooms much early. And then all of a sudden the hotel is, oh, we need to sell rooms, so let's decrease pricing, okay? And that is something, it's more a curiosity than anything else, but it's one of the main things that I think hoteliers should actually take a look into these and make sure this could be well organized and on time. So another curiosity actually is in this market, as I was mentioning, online distribution should be something quite solid, diverse, including different channels. So here I brought some information about the main channels. So on the left side, you can see GDS. Then you have the direct channel, and then Expedia Booking or other channels. So two nice curiosities here is that typically GDS actually demand reveals ADR 2 times higher than other channels, meaning that hotels that are actually working through GDS channel, where they can actually sell corporate rates, where they can make sure their inventory is in front of the airline companies, agencies that are booking airline companies, okay, they're able to sell at higher ADR than through any other channels. At the same time, and funny enough, any hotel obviously would like to have as much revenue as possible through their direct channel, right? But if you look at this graph, you will see that the direct channel still having a higher ADR comparing with the other channels. And that is really a surprise because nowadays, so everyone knows that Expedia, Booking.com, other channels, you still need to pay high commissions on that, right? It goes from 15% to 18 to 21, whatever, right? But still, there's many hotels that they still have higher pricing on their direct channel, allowing the OTAs to actually get more reservations. And on the top of these lower ADRs, the hoteliers who still need to pay commissions on that. So we really need to shift the things around and make sure the hoteliers have this into consideration and actually manage policies to make sure they always have direct channel at better conditions than the OTAs. In terms of ADR, like in terms of the size of properties, I also brought this here because I think it's really interesting to understand that smaller properties on the left side, you will see that they typically have higher ADRs. They need higher ADRs in order to sustain their business, right? To survive, comparing to bigger properties. So my question here is more, do you actually need this higher ADR in smaller properties? Why don't you try to just get as much direct bookings instead of paying commissions to the OTAs? Okay, so you really need to have a look into this and make sure you can have a solid online distribution and way more attractive to the direct business than the OTAs, okay? So I think those are some of the opportunities and the curiosities that actually still happen in the market worldwide. And here I just brought like an example. So the good news is that there's still, and they exist, hotels that take these opportunities and turn these opportunities into big advantages. So this is an example of an hotel, City Center, Lisbon, 28 rooms. So, and what they've been doing is that they've paid so much attention to their direct business, to their contents, to their videos, to their social networks, to their dynamic pricing, marketing tools that they are able to get a very solid distribution with around 50% of their business, between 50 and 65 of their business actually comes from the direct channel, okay? And the reason being is because they keep managing their strategy themselves. They went to the market and they're like, okay, what do we need to do to get as much direct business as possible? So they have a full control of their website content, of their booking engine. The things are fully synchronized, of their promotions, of their pricing, of their pop-ups, of their summer promotions, Christmas promotions, etc. Okay, so they rely on a platform that allows them to have a full plan across the year in order to have as much direct business as possible. And then obviously, they still need presence on Booking.com, on Expedia, on GDS, right? But always with worse pricing, worse cancellation conditions, worse policies, okay? And this is possible. They certainly take all the opportunities into advantages and make sure they can create as much direct business as possible. So
yeah.
Go over a little bit the topic.
Yeah, it's good and very interesting to see how these I guess smaller players in the industry can compete, like measuring up with the bigger players and really have that optimization of their direct channel. How would you say that because we spoke initially in this conversation a little bit how, and I guess this might sound a bit ironic to people listening, but like how technology, you know, it's gotten increasingly complex. But how, in your opinion, should technology, because, you know, it sounds complex, but actually, you know, technology can simplify most of the operations if, you know, you align it somehow with your business. So in what ways, in your opinion, would technology empower hotels to seamlessly control their brand in like a way that they can control, be on top of all the demands, have the offers, you know, the distribution done that it's optimized for their direct channel, and be on top of their rates, on top of the ADRs, all of that. How would technology help hotels to really be on top of this?
Yes. So obviously it's not a, it is an easy answer actually. So let me put it in that way. So I think, and that's why I'm so passionate about this industry, is that everything could be way easier than actually hoteliers think. Okay, we just need to use technology to simplify your lives. Okay, and what it actually looks extremely complex could actually help you, because technology tends to evolve and work in an easier way. Okay, I mean, as an hotelier, you just need to select priorities and don't ignore the evolution, and try to actually understand how the things work and what are the basics of the technology, so you can actually take decisions, think about the things and take the right decisions, and don't just give it away to someone else to decide for me. Okay, so let me give you an example what happens on a daily basis with an hotelier that typically talks to me or to my team. Oh, there's so many technologies in the market. We get contacted for so many different companies, and we are just worried about our furniture. We keep handing up everything at the hotel, but we need to open next month, etc. So, and typically this hotelier is about to opening the hotel like in a month's time, and he didn't think about anything like their brand, their logo, their content, how they're going to position themselves, what's their targets, absolutely nothing, okay? Because they're too overwhelmed with so many aspects and so many operation things that they're completely lost. So, and what we actually try, the way that we try to help those sort of hoteliers is like, look, we don't want to do everything for you, right? We need to help you to take the right decisions. And taking the right decisions include how are you going to position yourselves, like which kind of targets will you have, And then what you need to have is make sure you have access to a platform that allows you to be as much dynamic as possible. Because you can have the perfect website nowadays, you can have the perfect booking engine, you can have an amazing channel manager with the right data today. If you don't manage and if you don't understand how the things evolve, in a month's time, the things will be outdated. Okay. So I think the best strategy nowadays is make sure you decide to go ahead to work with a platform, okay, that could be very simple at the beginning, and then you can build up on the top of that. So let me give you an example. You are an hotel that are just starting your business right now. You don't need 100 channels right now, right? What you need to make sure is study your customer journey, okay? Make sure you build up your own brands, your website, consolidates all the necessary information for the guests that you want to target, okay? Make sure your booking engine and the website are in one single place, meaning that every time that you want to publish a new rate, a new package, a new add-on, a new product is 100% synchronized with your website, okay? At the same time, you need to make sure you have a bunch of marketing tools, okay, connect to the same platform that allows you to be present on your customer journey. What I'm saying is this: you need to have access to Google Hotel Ads. You need to make sure you can control the rate you have on Google Hotel Ads. You need to make sure you can be visible on social networks with your booking engine, with your website, with reviews, right? You need to make sure you can collect subscription newsletters on your website. So you start building up a database where then you can send newsletters, you can work on your repeated guests, you can create promotional codes, you can create corporate codes, right? At the same time, and obviously, you should be able to have access to a platform that allows you to change your SEO, your content all the time, because what works today on Google, it won't work in a month's time, right? So there's no static information that will be visible forever and will work forever. And you can't, in my opinion on this is that you need to understand how stuff works. You actually need to pick up a platform that allows you to work in a very simple way at the very beginning and build up your strategy along the way. This platform needs to be an open platform that is able to connect with multiple other technologies that will possibly come up to the market next year, okay? So make sure this is your solution, okay? And you can't really rely just on Booking.com or on Expedia, because if something happens with them tomorrow, then your business will stop. And then you won't have access to your biggest asset, which is your website, your own brand, your own booking engine. So at the end of the line, my conclusion here is that make sure you look to the market, define what's your target, what's your audience, and choose a platform that allows you to be as much dynamic as you can on a daily basis or on a monthly basis.
And I guess in a way also to simplify things and get everything on the same page, because I guess like with conversations that I have, even like going over the history of the industry, it seems like a lot of the different functions and stuff sometimes are a bit disjointed. So like marketing is doing one thing, revenue is doing something else, but like kind of having that all in one place and everyone's aligned on how it is, and you click to publish in one place and it publishes in all the places,
exactly.
Things like that to make their lives a bit easier.
And that is actually a great point, because if we simplify the thing, so let's see, you have social networks, right? So you have Facebook, you've got Instagram. Typically Facebook is targeting, I don't know, I would say people around the 50s, 60s, and Instagram tends to be more targeting younger generation, right? So if you go and promote your own business, right, your hotel on Instagram or on Facebook, you should be able to, whatever you actually plan to be on that social network should be placed on your website and also on your booking engine. And what you don't want is, okay, I need to log in on that platform and set a promotion with a specific banner, whatever. Then I need to log in on my website, and then I need to log in on my booking engine system and create exactly the same thing. That won't work in a long term. It's impossible. You need to have one centralized place where you actually make sure, okay, I've got this marketing tool that allows me to create a specific promotion that will be then automatically updated on Facebook, on Instagram, on my booking engine, or on my website. And this is possible because that's exactly where the technology is going. Technology, yes, it touches many different places at the same time, but you don't really need to do this in multiple different places. You can do this in a centralized way. You just need to make sure you pick up a centralized system, a centralized platform that allows you to be dynamic, but in an easy way on a daily basis.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I have to agree with that, even with the day-to-day work that we do, having these kind of solutions that centralize all the stuff that needs the data that we need to be on top of. And, in terms of our work, it's, yeah, a godsend. Also, I don't know, because I'm autonomy is something that's quite important for me on a personal level. So, so being able to kind of just do it and, have like tools that simplify those operations, definitely the way to go, I guess, in today's climate. So thank you, Filipa, very much for your time and for sharing the insights with us today. I'm sure our audience will learn a lot and definitely have some good takeaways that they can implement across their business and their brand. And thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Melissa. Bye-bye.